All right, so we're going to start right now here, right on time. It's awesome to be with you. It's our State of the Market third quarter review of our third quarter results, and then a little bit of our magic crystal ball looking into the fourth quarter. And maybe I have a secret for you today as far as who's going to be the president of the United States next, right? What an interesting time we are experiencing all during this week. But we'll start here looking a little bit in the rearview mirror, and then we'll start looking forward. And then I also always got some exciting news for you as far as new developments at the Life Wealth Group, some new faces, and some new events that finally we'll be talking about that's coming up shortly. But as we then look back here over the last quarter, we always got to keep the lawyers happy. So there's all our disclosures. But what an interesting period of time in our lives. I think a very interesting fact here is that overall, this is a U.S. satisfaction survey that was done by the Gallup polls. I think most people are not very, very satisfied, obviously dealing with the level of negative in working through COVID, as well as this election period of time. Probably fair to say that most folks are pretty stressed. Yanis and I went for a walk about 2 or 3 days ago, and you could feel the tension with some of the neighbors, especially the neighbors who were maybe voting for the opposing side. Some interesting T-shirts and comments made, but I think we're all a little bit edgy at this point in time, to be fair to say, and it's been a very, very difficult year. But when I turn a little bit more to economic situations or circumstances, here's the reality. Last quarter, we had substantial negative GDP growth. Probably the second quarter for sure. The economy is coming out of the COVID. The projection of our economical growth going forward is really that of positive numbers. It's probably a 20 to 35% backswing, and we started seeing that in the beginning of the third quarter. We started seeing the markets take off again. We started seeing the economy coming back as most states are opening more and people going back to work. We will probably continue to see the continuation of that economical growth in this fourth quarter coming forward as well, simply because it's a spring that got compressed, it's expanding and coming back. GDP means gross domestic product. Just to give you all maybe a good reference point, a normal GDP growth number for the United States economy over a 1 year period of time is typically about 2.5 to 3.5%. And you could just see the radical down that I showed you in the previous slide, and then the radical up. And then you could see more or less what happens in a normal year. So it's like switching off the lights of the total economy and then switching it back on with a little bit of a dimmer. And certainly we have still concerns and fears about how much COVID is going to come back. So it makes for great news, makes for great headlines. Hey, GDP growth up 20 to 35%, but really what we're doing is coming back from the slump that we were in. But a better indication is the amount of jobs and the job loss that we've experienced. Here you can see jobs added as a net number. You can see obviously a huge amount of jobs last year through COVID, and then the swing back V recovery, 1,200 in the month of May, month of June, 4,800 jobs as we were coming back. July, we're still adding jobs. August, we're still adding jobs. September, we're adding jobs. So we're adding jobs, although at a slower pace, obviously, as we just moving back in, filling up where we kind of came from. Also, obviously, still a lingering question about how much would COVID come back. Our European friends are starting to experience some more closure again in their society, as well maybe some in their economy, due to a second lash, in Europe specifically. Here in the U.S., we're watching and we keep a careful eye on it. I got a slide that kind of talks a little bit about that, but before I get here, here's a slide talking about COVID cases. Here's the cases on a month by month, day by day basis. We started seeing obviously from July, August, a strong downward trend to the amount of cases, a little bit of a rise as we're trying to buffer that second wave. And so here's the beginning of the second wave. I'm encouraged to see a little bit more of a straight line out here. This red line is a 7-day average of where things are. So I think, obviously as a country, not that I'm Dr. Fauci, I would say that we are concerned. We ought to be smart. We ought to probably wear our masks in public places, although I'm not a person that enjoys that. But we need to be smart. Um, don't know how many of you have family members that have had COVID. Um, Good, interesting question. Our middle son, who went back to the University of Florida, Chris, a medical student, he had COVID about a week after the colleges opened up, and luckily we had a beach condo that we sent him to, and he isolated. I got some videos, second day, third day into it, of him doing workouts in the living room and walking the beach and fully recovering. So for the younger people, it's less of a big deal, but I've had certainly a good amount of friends who've had it as well. By the grace of God, Denise and I haven't had it, and none of our other families had it. But for younger people, it seems like a tough cold. Older folks, that's where it gets tricky. This is kind of where things are going. So a lot of our economy, you could say, is somewhat related to COVID in a probably large way. And hopefully we don't see a huge resurgence and we can move things forward. If we look at the stock market over the last year to where we are, we see obviously the NASDAQ coming out like gangbusters and having some really, really strong return. For the most part, this is due to technology and the fact that we're doing Zoom calls and webinars like we're doing right now, right? I don't know, it's been scarce that we've been personally into a Publix. A lot of our wives are using services that drops the groceries at the front door. I know my son is using DoorDash a lot. At times I just want to maybe get out myself and go to a restaurant or maybe to a Publix just to kind of return to normal. But NASDAQ is up tremendous. If you got your money in there, it's fantastic. We don't have anybody's money in the NASDAQ only, which if you look at the rest of the indexes, the S&P is about 7-8% on this chart year to date. Dow Jones barely even. So when you look at your portfolios, I want you to understand, not to beat yourself up, that you're not supposed to be in 100% in the NASDAQ. Your account's not supposed to be up 30%. We're seeing most people's accounts being up about 3 to 4%, and it's because very few folks have 100% in equity. And even if you had 100% in equity, it certainly wasn't 100% into a technology stock. Probably the person that would have 100% of their money in a technology stock is probably a 25-year-old techie that's got maybe $5,000 in his investment account, and he might be putting all into technology stock. Nobody does that. We've learned our lesson very well through the dot-bomb era, where the stock market NASDAQ lost about 40% over a 3-year period of time. But we have components of the NASDAQ inside of your portfolios. In the Vanguard strategies that we manage ourselves, we've been overweighting in the technology arena for the last 6-7 months, more than we definitely normally do, as a due to the fact that it's recovering very, very strong. But main point is two things. One, don't beat yourself up that you're not up 30%. You should be up about 4 to 5 to 6% in a diversified portfolio year to date. I'm thrilled that we are positive, that we overcame the drama of what we've all experienced. And the second thing I would say to you is we all have really experienced volatility to probably one of the highest levels that I've seen in a given year. And if you feel today that you cannot stand it anymore, then I would encourage you to put up your hand, give us a call, let us have a discussion about it. For most folks on their retirement years, we have used really good strategies and planning on our side. You've heard me talk about that on a week-by-week basis. That has really buffered the downside. We've used tools that has downside protection. And overall, I'm super pleased about how our client base as a whole came through this, protecting downside and appropriate investments with appropriate time frames. So if you're in retirement, you want to be very conservative, obviously. Downside protection, you would not affect it too much. If you are further away from retirement, we still got pedal to the metal. You probably would have said and seen more volatility in your accounts, and that would have been more appropriate. For the folks who's on our call here today, most of you are close to retirement, maybe in retirement, approaching retirement, so it would be more of a moderate scenario for you. And so it's really every one of our portfolio designs is custom fit to you and your spouses if you're married, in a way that fits with your risk tolerance as well as what reality looks like. And for that, I must say, if I measure how well we've done as a total practice, I think we've done very well. If I judge it by the amount of panicked phone calls that I had over the last 9, 10 months, not many of those. So markets, surprisingly, for this period of time, still continuing to move things forward as this race continues, right? So you probably have the app. Presidential election is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the swing states, and I'm looking at where we are. The battle is fierce, I suspect, and it's interesting to me that I think most people did expect that this election and the voting period would go more than one day, and probably due to mostly the mail-in ballots. But 4 years ago we had the answer in the morning off. I was hopeful, but still we have some results out there pending. Looks like at this point in time, like President Biden's going to take office. But it's many of these states are about 10,000 votes apart from each other, and numbers are so close. Then we also have to wait and see what's going to happen with the lawsuits filed to see how long things are going to take out. Nobody knows, but it sounds to me like it's probably going to be a week or two before we absolutely know. What was kind of surprising to me is in this uncertainty that the stock market returned strong, came back Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Today it's somewhat flat, but we had some volatility last week, just here before anticipation of voting day. But I'm kind of surprised that we haven't seen more downward volatility and uncertainty. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Senate is Republican and the House is Democratic, and so no matter what president comes in, it doesn't seem like a clean sweep, and it doesn't seem that too many radical things could happen. That's possibly why you see the market trending positive. But normally, after an election, the markets respond positive in that it has certainty in what direction we will be going into. And after all, I would say that half of the country and folks who are driving the markets, for the most part, is going to be happy. Others not going to be too happy. But it seems like we are a very divisive nation, is what most people are saying. Maybe in the heated way we feel about our political party. But if you look at our spread among the votes, it's very close. And maybe not as divisive as we think we are. Very balanced, at least I would say. As we look into the future and what the economic outlook looks like, as I've mentioned already, we anticipate more people going back to work. We're keeping a close eye on what COVID cases would look like. GDP is moving definitely in a forward direction and is coming back. As a result of that, I anticipate more on feel, not super fact, that we will probably have a positive growth rate between now and the end of the year, but there's still a tremendous amount of uncertainty. And for that, I would say again, if any of you feel that you want to have a discussion, readjust your risk, then we would say caution, caution, caution. It seems like every week I've been saying that and giving you an anticipation of volatility right through the election period of time. And if we knew the answers of the outcome maybe a day or two ago, it certainly would, I think, bring less volatility. But the fact that the decision is still strung out, that would probably tell us that we're going to have more volatility of what's happening. As we look at the fourth quarter, big issues that's coming up is whether or not we'll have a vaccine out. I think the moment we have a vaccine out, things will start settling down. At least we have now a viable, workable solution for even a future uptrend in COVID. We have a way of answering it. Ultimately, how the election will play out is a big factor of what's going to go on. We'll receive, again, will this COVID issue come back in an envisioned way, and that we would have to shut down economies again, or local states or restaurants or businesses? And what ultimately will happen now with Congress passing their next relief package a lot of conversation and a lot of back and forth was going on towards this. If you remember, probably about a month out before the elections, President Trump shut down the conversation for about a day or two. Still no resolve, still a lot of differences. I think they are, last I was looking, they were fighting over about 400 billion, yes, billion with a B, in the size of the next relief package. Certainly, if it is decided, that should have a good impact into the markets and a stability force. I will say this to you, that our national debt has increased very, very substantially in this year alone. And whoever takes office, if we as a nation or as I would say the political parties do not pay attention to what we are doing with this ever-growing debt, we are trending in a very, very unhealthy way for the future. We do know that on a tax front basis, we highly likely would experience increased taxes, reduced deductions, especially if President Biden or Vice President Biden becomes president. And normally what the Democratic Party does, it hits folks, higher income folks, higher net worth folks much harder. But we'll still have to see how that all plays out and what changes comes about. So still a lot of uncertainty and things to be looking and focusing at. Now let's transition to things we do know. We do know that we are going to be enjoying a great Thanksgiving period. And as I ponder about Thanksgiving, Yanis and I have attended a great workshop last week teaching us how to create a vision, mission, and value statement for our family. And something we're excited about, something we're doing personally, and a process that we certainly will be rolling out next year and talking with you about how you can create that. It's made me think about family a lot. With Thanksgiving coming up, I am truly thankful for great family here in the United States as well as overseas in South Africa. But November, a fantastic time to celebrate family, celebrate what we are thankful for. Still in a very, very uncommon year, a lot of uncommon things we can be thankful for. Just from my side, I love this time of year with Thanksgiving, the weather changing, and a really great, cool time to be out. So I'm going to be buffering the uncertainty of what we're dealing with just being out a little bit and enjoying outside, playing golf, and enjoying family. We have been innovative in this last period of time too. I'm happy to announce to you two new ventures that the Life Wealth Group is growing in towards. When I created the company, the Life Wealth Group, in that group I had the meaning of a group of people and growing other advisors. I've also had the concept of providing a group of companies, a group of solutions for our clients. So we announced this at our ambassadors event, but we are launching Life Wealth Freedom Transition Partners, and we're also launching Life Wealth Travel Concierge. Let me share with you a little bit about this. Life Wealth Freedom Transition Partners is a entity that we are launching, that we are helping companies or business owners who want to sell their companies and retire. We have a wonderful planning process we have developed to help those folks be able to do that. We also would and can be the business broker to broker the transaction of the sale. In the last 4 or 5 years, I've been involved in about 15 of these types of transactions. It's an area of planning I really, really enjoy, and it's a great time to be able to help folks transition to their next adventure. We want to speak into business owners who sell their companies and not necessarily go on a full retirement, if you would, but really think through how to refire, to find out what is next in their life and their next adventure, and where they can make a profound difference and an impact. And then on the fun side also, not that that's not fun, but on the more fun side, we've noticed over the years, all of you have completed your dream list. And on your dream list exercise, we've noticed that about 75-85% of folks have travel on their dream list. And Yanis and I had an extraordinary travel experience working with Jeff Lavender, who has helped us through an amazing travel experience. And we have partnered with Jeff Lavender, and we're launching Life Wealth Travel Concierge. So what the intent of this is to provide travel deals to our clients that is of higher value than if you were to book it yourself, simply because you're working with an industry expert. Also, we are planning and dreaming about doing European river cruises with our clients, all of you, in which we will do some sessions on the boat on this area of life and wealth. But for the most part, we'll have a lot of fun together and create opportunities to get group discounts for everybody, as well as just unique travel experiences. So Yanis and I are going to be thinking about our travel budget for next year. We're going to look at an allocation that we want to go. We're going to share with Jeff some of our dream destinations, and I suspect I can already know that Jeff would be able to squeeze out more value for what we used to spend in planning and designing it ourselves. So the intent of it is simply to help you. If you don't want to do your own travel arrangements or you want to squeeze more value out of it, feel free to take advantage of the Life Wealth Travel Concierge. It's there for you. It does not have any additional expenses to it or any cost. It's simply there to be able to maximize the enjoyment of your travel and what you are planning to spend on that. Look for more advertisements and more opportunities that will come your way. We probably will reach out to you announcing it and giving you an opportunity to respond, so that we would then send future deals to you. We can't just send information to your emails blanket. You'd have to give us permission to do so. So when you see those invitations, let us know, respond, and we can tell you what we're cooking up and what trips we are planning as a group, or opportunities and deals that is available for you for travel. So those are two new entities that we're launching, very excited about. The other part of the word group is new folks, new faces, and we are continuing to growing. So we are very happy to welcome Corey Churchill and Joella Roberts to our team. Very excited to have them join us. Corey is, if you look at Corey and you ask him what he's passionate about, it's finances and fitness. He played college football. He's a fitness guy. He's getting my butt back in shape with some really good nutritional plans. And Hilton and him are working out a lot. And a great addition to our team, very sharp young man. He's working in our planning department and assisting Hilton and Jeremy in getting ready for meetings. So I'm excited about him joining our team. And then Joella, you will see more of our events. The folks who were with us at the ambassador event have met Joella. She's in the front working in Susan's team, loving on our clients and putting a lot of our events together, and coordinating our schedules and helping out in a big way. Very excited to have her join our team as well. And then future events that's coming up, we are excited to celebrate our Ambassador Elite Club members. We have a great event planned on November 17th. We're going to be visiting at our home, starting with cocktails, be transported with limousines, and go into a special restaurant, private room, and celebrate our elite members. We're really looking forward to that time together to be with you. We always enjoy hanging out with our clients as a group. And I'm going to talk with you a little bit more about how you can become an elite here in a second. We're still doing our workshops at Ocean Prime downstairs from where our office is. Cool workshops in which we are sharing our story, how we can help folks that are planning, reducing their taxes and reducing their risk. And looking forward to hosting that again next week. We have a round coming up, and then the first week of December, we get some more workshops. Good opportunities to bring friends to come and join us during this period of time. And then a little bit more about this ambassador. Some of you are ambassadors already, and you understand what it means to become one. And some of you on the call still maybe have heard of it a little bit. Let me just talk a little bit more about ambassadors. We celebrate our clients who bestows upon us the greatest honor, which is introducing us to another family member or friend or friends through either events that we do or through introductions on a personal basis. If you have referred a family member or friend to us, a couple that became a client of ours, then you are inducted into our Ambassadors Club. And if you introduced two family members or two couples to us, you become part of our Ambassador Elite Club. We continue to celebrate with these club members on a year-by-year basis, having some special events to thank you for allowing us to be able to grow and share our message with those that you care deeply about. So, folks, that I've kept kind of sweet and short. We're 25 minutes into it. I, unfortunately, through technology today, cannot hear your voices. But if you would, in your screen, there's a chat area where you can input questions. And I'm going to go over there now, and I'm going to be able to answer some questions. So, Richard, I see that you put in there a question for me. You were asking, you're confused about the graph of job growth. If the decline in jobs were 20 million, why does the graph come up to the previous level with only 1.5 million added? That's a good question. Let's go back to that graph. I think you are adding something good that's a great question. Yep, I can see why you're confused about this. This was losses. This is pure gain. So if you had a loss, you would have had a negative. If you had a gain, you would have had a positive. It is not a cumulative graph. It just shows you basically month over month if it's a positive or a negative. That's what that looks like. So basically here since the middle of April all the way here to May, there was actually just the month of May, there was a positive job adding to it. It's not a cumulative graph. I hope that explains it. It's not as clear as I would wish for it to have been, but bottom line is we still haven't added back all the jobs that we have lost in COVID. We are recovering quite well, The pace at which we're recovering, the adding of new jobs is slowing down, although we are still adding new jobs to the economy. I hope that helps you out there, Richard, and now I'm explaining that. Does anybody else have any questions for me? Please go ahead and type it for me in the chat box. It will pop up on my screen. While I'm waiting for questions, let me share with you maybe one more thing. We are also, some things that we're working on for next year on is we are thinking through adding a strategic relationship in which we can do mortgages or help you with mortgages and create that opportunity for you even more. We've also have created opportunities where if a person needs to sell a home or wants to sell a home and wants to get really good referrals for residential real estate agents that are exceptionally good, we have compiled a group of about 4 or 5 folks that we can refer to be able to help out on that side too. So we always want to expand our network of who we can bring forth to our client base in order to be able to create a really good network of professionals that can help in a big way. So those are things that we're adding on as well. A big part of what we're thinking through next year is also the office location, where we will be going to be situated. If we stay where we are or if we are moving to a different office location, but we'll be communicating more about that to you as well as we come to clarity. Joyce asked a really good question here. Okay. A big part of also what, thank you, Joyce, for reminding me, a good part of what we have been talking to a lot of folks on is in preparation for what we see to be an increase in income taxes. We've been talking a lot about Roth conversions these days, a lot about that. And it is really a good time to be able to start thinking through how you shelter yourself from future taxation, especially if income tax rates might be going up in the future. So it's really good opportunity to have further dialogue on this. If you want to talk more about it, please feel free to reach out to us so that we can speak with you more about it. But on an individual basis, some of you maybe have done this already, and are wondering maybe if you need to do more. I would say at this point in time, we're not clear who the president is, and we're not clear exactly what the tax code is going to look like, but it does appear to us that we will see if Biden comes into office. He's already announced that he's going to be raising income taxes. We know he's going to be focusing the income area of $400,000 and up in income. Not sure by how much he's going to increase the middle income brackets, but good question. We need to be thinking about this more. Okay, well, I promised I would be 30 minutes. We're right on the dot. I thank you so much for your time today, joining us. We look forward to being with you again on our normal weekly bombs or our weekly videos. We use a software called BombBomb, so I call them bombs. But we'll be communicating with you again, weekly updates until the end of the year, hopefully when things settles down. And then hopefully by next year, if we don't have a resurgence on COVID, we'll get back into our normal swing of events that we're hosting. Thank you so much for attending today. Have a great weekend, and really looking forward to being with you and the Bachelor's Elite. Have a great rest of the day.